In the previous video, I talked about two of the biggest pitfalls that keep authors and speakers stuck in the first stage of thought leadership. But today I want to talk about the second stage, which is building. It's so exciting when thought leaders arrive in this second stage. After all, in incubation, most things are happening behind closed doors, but in building, things start to happen out in public. More things are happening, there's more opportunities, and even though your message is still in development, you can see that it's starting to make an impact, and this is really exciting. But there's also more decisions and more moving parts in building that can make things feel confusing and overwhelming. There's a lot more to understand about building, but for today, I want to talk about the two biggest factors that are required to move through this stage. So the first thing to know is that building is about going public with your message. So in incubation, you've been sharing your message through controlled experiments and behind closed doors with a couple clients here, an industry colleague over here. Building is about taking your message out to the world and testing it out in public, but just not on too big of a stage. And that's because at this stage, your message is still in the form of a raw diamond. It has structure, shape, and form, but it still needs some refining and shaping. So what does this look like? It means delivering a Zoom presentation for 25 people instead of 250, or delivering the podcast interview for a newer podcast instead of a prominent one, or speaking for a local group instead of trying to land the main stage at their national conference. Because when you go share your message in front of a live or virtual audience, their reactions and questions are the signals that you need to see what's working and what's not so that you can further develop your message. You might compare this process to what a comedian does to prepare for like an HBO special. They take their material and their new bits, they find the diviest, obscure club, and they go test it out. They listen to the audience reactions. They're also listening to themselves to say what's working, what's not, what's missing. So they take all of that, they go back to their office, they make some adjustments, they find another divey club, and they repeat the process over and over again. Now, I want to be clear, I'm not talking about practicing delivery. I'm actually talking about testing the message to say, is the logic working? Are all these pieces fitting together? And is this the most unique, compelling, and relevant version of this message that I can share with the world? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that building is about growing your audience through strategic relationships. So in incubation, you have developed supporters and fans, this inner circle behind closed doors. Whereas building is about growing your audience, your public audience, in order to expand your impact. So how do we do this? Well, conventional wisdom has a lot to say about how we should grow an audience and where we should spend our money. But the irony, what conventional wisdom doesn't often talk about, is the very opportunities that we need to do this come to us through individual relationships, specifically the individuals and groups that we're meant to serve. So how do we find these people? Well, there's like 3 criteria to keep in mind. First of all, these are the individuals and groups that serve the same or similar audience. You might think about them being in your ecosystem, so there's a potential for collaboration. These are also people that share the same values as you and you believe in what they're doing. Thirdly, these are the individuals and groups that are reachable and accessible. So instead of like waving your arms trying to get a hold of Brene Brown or somehow trying to land a keynote for Inc. 5000, these are the groups right in front of you and the opportunities of scale so that it's safe to deliver your message while you're still working on it and in development. So these 2 priorities in building work in symbiosis together. So the opportunity that you have to test your message with 25 people, this is an opportunity to also grow your audience by 25 people. And when they love what you're doing, then they can introduce you to another group, which allows you to test the message again and attract more followers. And you repeat this process again and again and again. So these 2 priorities in building are simple, but they're not simplistic. Because after all, there's a lot of moving parts required to establish your public platform, which can make it easy to be distracted and to feel confused. Next time, I'm going to talk about 2 of the biggest pitfalls that will keep you stuck in the second stage. Stay tuned for the next video.